The village of Seaward respectfully acknowledges that the land gathered here is the unceded territory of the Comox First Nations, the traditional keepers of this land. Call the meeting to the order. No public input. Introduction of late items. Go ahead.
Can I ask you to restate that, please, that there is no members in the audience? That's why there isn't public input.
There is no members in the audience, therefore there is no public input. Introduction of late items. Anything? No. Approval of agenda. That the agenda for the regular meeting of council for June 3rd, 2025 be approved as presented.
I'll move that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Minutes of previous. That the minutes from the regular council meeting held October 17th, 2023 be adopted as presented. Motion, please.
Move that.
Second.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. B, that the minutes from the regular council meeting held on May 20th, 2025 be adopted as presented. Motion, please.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Jason seconded. That the minutes of the special council meeting held on May 20th, 2025 be adopted as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on April 15th, 2024 be adopted as presented.
I move that.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And that the minutes of the special council meeting that was held on January 29th, 2024 be adopted as presented.
Move that.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Paulson?
I would just like to add that I believe the meeting was over at 9:40 p.m. It says that it was an unknown time for the meeting to be over.
CEO?
Thank you, Councillor Paulson. This means no disrespect to you, but how do you recall that, just for our own record?
Because January 29th was followed an in-camera meeting, and it ended abruptly when the power went off at 9:40.
Thank you very much. Jen, if you could hear me, can you modify that minutes and bring a fresh copy for me, please? Thanks.
So that the minutes of the special council meeting held on January 29th, 2024 be adopted as amended. Motion, please.
I'll move that.
Thank you. Second.
Second that.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Petition delegations, none. Correspondence. I move from A to F be received. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second that.
Discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. This is in relation to C. I'm wondering if we have access, if that can get emailed out to us with the link for the survey.
Any further discussion? Councillor Paulson? Your microphone, please.
I had an idea that maybe it might be relevant to post the Coastal Fire Center prohibition on our website.
All in favor?
Sorry.
Good. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. As it relates to F, we were going to take a look at our building bylaws, and we've got a lot of things to do. But I'm just wondering if we have any updates whatsoever on that process.
Building bylaw or the housing needs report and the OCP amendments? Because building bylaw was not on my radar before.
I think it was, as you mentioned, but I think we're also going to look at building and zoning. In fact, we're also going to look at fees and charges as it related to business. So there's lots of different components there as it relates to housing and investment. So I guess my question is the more specific to this one, small scale multi-unit housing. We are in process of adjusting to that currently, are we?
I'm not sure if we are in process of adjusting to that. I know that we're working on the housing needs assessment. That has to go to public consultation and then comes back to council to finalize that. But I'm not aware of the small scale multi-unit housing piece. And all of the priorities that council set for 2025 are in the budget. If it is not funded, it is not getting done. And if council wishes to advance work on these other important priorities, you need to fund staffing at a very significant level compared to now.
Councillor Johnson.
I think, CEO, if I'm not mistaken, though, in one of John Manson's presentations, did he mention that we're not a community that's applicable to this specific piece of legislation change? Am I correct on that?
I will have to get back to you on that.
Okay. So on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Council reports, none. Reports of committee, none. Mayor's report, none. Unfinished business, none. Staff reports. The 2024 annual report on water. Recommended resolution that council receives the 2024 annual report for water for information. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Discussion. Councillor Coates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I guess through the mayor to the CAO, these are reports that we get on a yearly basis, correct? So when I got to the emergency response, this is page 35 of our package. Our emergency response and contingency plan, there hasn't been one ever. And I think that you're going to develop it by September the 1st. So it says no, that it's not up to date, but did we have one before and it just wasn't up to date?
To answer your first question, if these are annual reports, yes, they are. Have they been consistently developed and shared with council? That's a different question. I think the answer is no on that. Are they required to be shared with council as the governing body? Yes, they are. And are they required to be submitted to VIHA? Yes, they are. So we submitted this year. Last year was submitted. The inspection report that I brought forward to council a few months ago, maybe 2 months ago at this point, had identified that the emergency response planning was a deficiency and a requirement to complete, I believe, by the end of this year. And that has been assigned to our contractor to take care of.
Okay, any additional questions? Councillor Coates.
Thank you. Just for clarification for myself, like chemical sampling, is that the chemicals that are sitting in the barrels that need to be tested, or are they the ones that are in the system?
The ones in the system.
Thank you. So they hadn't been done previously then either from this report for last year anyways. Page 37, was any chemical sampling conducted during reporting period? Was no. And when was the last time samples were conducted for the system? Don't know.
I would have to get back to you on that.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B, draft investment policy. Recommended resolution that the investment policy staff report be received for information and discussion, and that the proposal investment policy number 300-10 attached to the staff report dated June 3rd, 2025 be adopted. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
Second.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Permissive tax exemption 2026. Staff report be received for information and discussion, and that staff be directed to advertise the tax exemption process as outlined in this report. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Community survey results. The council receives the survey results for information. Do I have a motion on that, please?
Oh, here.
Motion to receive? Yeah.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion. Anyone? Councillor Coates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With all the hubbub and all the social media posts, I personally am a little disappointed that there were only 81 respondents, which is less than 10% of our community that filled out the survey.
Is it? Okay, Councillor Johnson.
Okay. So the survey here was absolutely no surprise. We can clearly see that most of the responses came from the Valley. We can see that only 31 residents responded back to this survey. As we know, when there's hot topics in the community, usually we have a full gallery and lots of interest. So, you know, that was surprising, but it also wasn't surprising. Some of the other things that I pick up on this is you know, when we look at the survey for the village, there doesn't seem to be a strong interest in paying more. Again, that is not a surprise because there is a perception that the village is carrying the center, and that perception is a reality. I think, you know, out of the Valley residents that responded, you know, there was a 50-50 almost cut on whether they wanted to pay more. Sorry, correction. 60% would support a small, but the benefit of that fell from 150 to 349. What was quite fascinating is 31.25% of the Valley said that they would not be willing to pay more, which the Valley respondents said that they would not be willing to pay more. But in fact, they're only paying what's charged at the gate, so to speak. So, you know, I guess, you know, there wasn't a lot of surprising data here. So I think I think we've got some hard thinking to do as we get closer to September, and recognizing that staff has an awful lot of work to get done here. I do think that we do need to think about what programming is offered at the Kelsey Center, and out of that programming, what could be housed elsewhere, being the school and the Heritage Hall. We know for sure that there's some programs in the community that are extremely beneficial. I'm going to slaughter this.
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai is one that stands out. I think that's definitely excellent. I know the senior lunches have been held elsewhere. Some of the other programming that particularly around after school care, there is a lot of communities. I can think of Penticton as a start, that the focus is to have those centers in a school anyway. And in fact, early childhood education programs are sort of heading in that direction. So I think that there has to be a scope of work done to analyze the programming that we have, and what could be maintained if it's considered a program that is a must-have for the community. We do know through the good work of staff as to what it costs to operate that center. We also know through the Urban Systems report and other reports previously that we have an incredible amount of what I would say priority work for water and other systems. And we do know that other communities such as, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's Port Hardy, did shut their facilities down for a period of time until monies were available again. 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. So we do need to spend some time on this as we get closer to September. The other thing that is of note is, do we have the right programming in place now? Do we have the staff to execute programming? I don't know the answers to that. So I think we have to we have to get to these answers. So I'd be interested to hear from CEO as to knowing the amount of work that staff has. If it's not a scope that can be done before September, then a decision has to be made without the scope. The question is does staff have capacity to analyze programs at the Kelsey Center prior to reopen as to what are must-haves and what can be moved to a different location?
I think the parameters that were just described would be not ideal. And I say that because what are must-haves, everything the Kelsey Center offers in terms of recreation programming are discretionary decisions by council. It is not, it's debatable if it's a core function of the municipality. Notwithstanding that, council would have to make that decision whether or not the value is being derived to the community for the investments that is being made, and no administration staff would be able to provide you with an answer on that, because that's the policy deference of council to consider, not staff.
Okay, with that said, then I'd like to stick it on the agenda either for July or August as to whether we open that center for September.
Is this a request prior to a decision by the SRD, or regardless of the SRD's decision on this matter?
In my mind, we don't have a timeline from the SRD decision at all. We do have sort of a finite timeline on finances. So no, it would not be married to the SRD decision.
Councillor Paulson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd just like to say, when I look at the numbers of the Valley people that, I hate calling them the Valley people, that sent in their surveys and were willing to pay up some more money. It seemed to me that the demographics have changed out in the valley in the last 10 years, 5 years, 2 years even, with the amount of younger people that are living out there. And so that's one thing that I noticed. And I'd like to know if we're going to get an update on the meetings with the SRD committee.
There has not been a meeting with the SRD committee since the last time that we spoke. The meeting is coming up on June 16th here at the Kelsey Center.
Okay, I understood it was May the 21st,
No,
but okay.
the one thing sorry, you're done? The one thing I'd like to add is when you look at the respondents from the Valley, you have 30 people that would pay more. I mean, varying amounts from $50 to $100 right up to $550 a year. So that to me is encouraging. It's not what I've been told by Director Wally, where he said that nobody is willing to pay more. So that to me is encouraging. Go ahead.
My review of the survey results is this. You have 350 residents roughly in the village boundary. Of those 350, I think we could do a deeper analysis as to what the age groups are, because not everyone is going to be voting age. We have children, we have young teens, we have adults, we have seniors, we have people across various socioeconomic demographics here. But I'd be curious to learn how many of those 350 are actually eligible electors for the village. That's the first stat. The second stat would be how many residents in the valley or electoral area A specific to Sayward are electors for that region as well, using the same methodology. Of that, we have how many? 48 people from electoral area A who responded. Of those, I think it was about 30 of them who are willing to pay more.
It is 30.
And we have less people responding from the village proper. And I'm not surprised by that, because the residents of the village itself has been carrying 100% of the burden to operate the Kelsey Center. So to me, and from the social media engagement that we've seen in the past, the primary audience was never the village. It was residents of the valley, to see how much, if they are willing to pay more, and if so, how much they're willing to pay more. I think people who responded to the survey were motivated by a couple of reasons. One, fear. They're afraid it's going to close. Obviously, people who responded, by and large, from the valley, it gave the impression that they want to see it continue. Overwhelmingly want to see it continue. Whether they want to pay is a whole different thing, but they want to see it continue. People in the village, people in the valley want to see this Kelsey Center continue. And I think the deciding factor should be whether it's a referendum, whether it's the alternate approval process. And if it's a positive vote, it is not just going to be 47 people contributing. It's going to be the 435 lots or folios that exist in the valley, plus whatever contribution council would agree to make from the village. Now, historically, we've paid over $1.7 million from 2017 to now. But if the financial split, the ratio is different, you would immediately be able to reduce your cost, still maintain service, and you could obviously make changes, strategic changes to the operating model for the center. You don't have to offer 5 days a week. You don't have to open at 12 and close at noon. You could be very targeted in what you do, understand your costs up front, and the staffing component is something that needs a lot of development. I think that's no secret. That's across every department in the organization. But beyond that, we need to modernize how we do things. We have a lot of leakages in the organization, financial leakages. And what I mean by that is we need to get away from the 1 degree of separation in our relationships that is driving a lot of our operational decisions. We see that at front counter, we see it in public works, and we see it especially in the recreation center. To break it down, we need to have a model in place that is not subjected entirely on the decisions of our employees on whether they charge or don't charge. We have no way to track the leakages, the volume of the leakages that we have in the village. And we need to do a better job at that. And I think incremental changes will get you to where you want to be, where you are building your reserve for your other capital assets. You are, if SRD contributes, you are getting stable funding commitment on an annual basis. And you will still be in a position to apply for grants for special projects that will be needed in order to revitalize this asset. Alternatively, it will sit empty, and a building that is empty decays faster. The liability will still be 100% on the books of this village to care for that asset, used or not. I don't know that's the best investment decision for the village.
Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, I think, you know, another question is, do we have the right model? And you know, prior I was talking about a community center versus a rec center. A community center rents space, and it's largely those individuals rent the space, set up the space, use the space. And, you know, some models have a cleaning group, others charge for that and have staff do it. So, you know, that is something that could be done and could address the, you know, the programming that, you know, makes sense and it pays for itself. So I think that question also has to be there as to whether, you know, we have a full rec center, which a large community would do and have our own, you know, teachers and facilitators, or whether we go with this other model. And so I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. But, you know, I'm also very conscious of the fact that as we get up to a potential opening date, there's a ton of other work to get done. And we are not a community, unfortunately, that has some crazy revenue where we can do all things. So we're at that point, and you know, we heard that I think the exact wording is the finances are dire. And when you're in a situation where finances are dire, you have to make tough decisions. And it comes down to the must-haves versus the nice-to-haves. And we'll always have an argument about what that means. But I think, you know, generally most people are going to agree that water and sewer are pretty up there. And those things need our attention. In order to give those things attention, we have to have a pot of money that can be drawn upon to put our revenue in towards grant funding. We need to be able to come up with the shovel readiness to go after these grants. Without allocating funds to do that, and you can't allocate funds you don't have if you're spending it on other things, that's where we get into trouble. So again, I get to the point where, you know, this council is going to have to really make some decisions. In my mind, it's prior to September. Now, I'm not going to put a motion forward at this time, but I do suggest I'm happy to put a motion forward about putting this on the agenda after the June 16th date, where we can get a little more or no information. It's yet to be determined. That gives us, you know, a second meeting of the SRD group. But as we get into September, I fully expect that we should have some discussion on this.
Councillor Coates.
Thank you. So my concern is with the SRD. It could take a couple of years for them to have their meetings if they're only going to be 2-3 times a year. We are having budget coming up in November, December of this year. So do we wait and we hope that they're going to contribute, or are we going to be responsible as counselors to the taxpayers that voted us in and where our priorities are, whether it's a rec center or if it's water and sewer? So I guess my concern is, how often is the SRD going to meet with the Kelsey Center group going to meet? And are they going to be able to give us something by the end of the year saying, yes, we'll contribute or not contribute? If they say, yes, we will contribute, then we can have a discussion because we know how much money we're going to have to spend for the village. Those are just my concerns.
CAO.
All points made are valid. It's a hard decision of council. Again, it's a discretionary decision of council. If, for example, council passed a motion today or shortly after June 16th, tour, it's not a meeting, it's a tour of the Kelsey Center, it would, in my opinion, seriously damage the request, the weight of the request from council to the SRD. Because if the SRD learns that the direction of council is to close the center, then why ask for financial contribution would be a natural question that may come up. So consider that. Secondly, if a decision is made to close the Kelsey Center now or in the future, you're going to, as a council, have to invest some dollars to lawfully and properly wind down the operation, even if it's for 6 months, a year, or longer. And those costs are not yet appreciated by council in all of its deliberations, and they're not going to be insignificant.
Councillor Johnson.
I appreciate that. I have a little bit of a different opinion as it gets to, you know, if council decides to close a center, this may also put further emphasis on the SRD that if you want this thing, time is ticking. And so that's sort of the other side of the coin. You know, we've been talking about this not for weeks or months, but this has been a hot topic for years. So it's nothing new. So I would suggest that closing of the center, which is a reality based on finances alone, will emphasize to the SRD that, hey, we have to close because of finances. So this is your opportunity to weigh in on this. The second piece to it is I do know that there will be some wind down costs for sure, but I don't think that they would equate to operating costs. And there is still going to be a savings, perhaps not in to the full extent in year one, but you know, in year two, if you take that number less, you know, keeping the necessary functions working until other decisions are made, if that's even a thing, it's just the reality of it. Again, if we don't have money to fund something, it's going to have to come from somewhere, and we know where it's come to date. We're out of that. We've reached our hypothetical credit limit.
Anyone else? Okay, on receipt. Oh, Councillor Paulson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm a little confused about the discussion about closing the center or closing the pool. So if you're talking about closing the center, do you mean all of the programs that go on in the gym and exercising and everything else like that? Or are you talking about closing the pool and still operating the center, renting out the gym, using the gym equipment or the weight room equipment and things like that. So I think we need to be clear on that. Whether we say we're going to keep the pool closed for now, and we're still going to have the costs to maintain it. But if we're not having to hire the staff for lifeguarding and maintaining the chemicals and all that, then it's, you know, maybe less, but we're still going to have those basic costs to keep it closed. So I think it's a real dilemma because the wheels of the government grind really slowly, and it's really frustrating.
Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. So in my previous discussion, I would be talking about the full center. However, there's caveats to that. So you've got a weight room that's well used. That's demonstrated in all the data that we have here. I'm of the understanding that because of where that is, there is possibly a way to keep that open. There's a way. I think there's other programming that exists that could move to other facilities. So I don't think the community itself will lose some of the programming that may be a fit for other locations. The pool, that would be a different thing, because when a pool closes, it closes, and there isn't an alternative place for that. But we do have a school with big facilities. That center is continuing to operate, of course. It's the school. So after school programs, Muay Thai, all those sort of things could find a home there. The Heritage Hall, I mean, that would be more of programming and an instructor that thinks they can put on programming that would, you know, that'd be a pay and play type situation, I would assume. So, you know, if there's a good programming that makes money and can self-fund, that's a possible home for it. In terms of because we do a considerable, in my mind, we do a considerable amount of free programming. You know, that's something that would have to come to council in my mind. And we've already determined that that's the right process under fees and charges. So that I'm speaking about, like carpet bowling, these sort of things. So I don't think that if we have a closed center, that means that there's no programming in town. It certainly doesn't mean that there's no place to meet in the case of emergency, because the building still exists. It just means that we've got to save some money for now until we can open bigger and better at a later date, because we also know that there's considerable monies required for renovations. We know those pool bathrooms are, quite frankly, they're rough. So there's some investment that's required. We don't have handicap bathrooms, mobility impaired bathrooms. We have a staircase that is in urgent need of being redone. We've got doors that aren't sealing properly. The list goes on and on. So this gives us time to stop, regroup, go find some grant funding, and get it done.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor Coates?
Another way I see it too is when we close the pool, it was going to save us $100,000 this year from the stats. If we close the whole center down, we would save $200,000. If we did that for a couple of years, we'd have $4,000 in the bank. We would be able to
400.
100,000 if we close the pool, and 200,000. 400. Oh, sorry, my mistake. 200,000. So over 2 years, it would be 400,000 that we'd have money in the bank. Then we'd be able to apply for grants like our sewer lift station or anything to do with their water. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking. Port Hardy did it, and it seemed to be successful. I know they have a leak right now, but you know, they did it. It's not like we're saying we don't want any physical activity. You know, it's not good for mental health. We have a gym that's underutilized, and we have a beautiful heritage hall out there that's underutilized. That, you know, aerobics could go there, yoga could go there. Right now, for example, we had a young lady in town that was doing dance. She came to the rec center and wanted to do it here, but it was too costly for her, so she went to the school and did it there. Brownies and Girl Guides used to always be in the Kelsey Center. I imagine there's probably a fee for that. They don't do it here, they do it at the school. So I do see some of these activities moving to the school. The other thing is the majority of the people that use the Kelsey Center are from Area A, and they're driving all the way down. Well, if these programs were at the Heritage Hall, they're driving half the way. You know, so there's a cost savings and a time savings for them as well. So it's not like we're getting rid of any of these activities. We're just saying that if we close the whole center, those activities can be hosted elsewhere. That's all, just to save some money.
Okay. Still on receipt?
I'd just like to mention the other thing is that the money that we're talking about saving for the Kelsey Center is from closing the Kelsey Center, would be going towards water and sewer and those sorts of things. So I could see that the closure of the center would be a lot longer than 2 years.
Okay.
Sorry, if I may, I would just, I would just say it really depends on grants, right? There's a grant currently available right now. UBCM, that's 100% funded, as an example. So there are grants there, but absolutely, everybody I've spoken to, grants are getting tighter. So this is the time to sort of take a look at that. But putting money aside, as Councillor Coates said, for any priority we see fit is the goal. We know water, we know sewer, we know Kelsey Center needs some investment as well.
Okay, so on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Emergency, none. Bylaws, none. New business. The DVP application for 400 McMillan Drive. The council receives this report and permits staff to provide a public notification of the proposed application prior to council's consideration. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Discussion? Pardon me, second?
I'll second that.
Discussion. Councillor Johnson?
Absolutely. So when I read this, I read that the intent was a mobile, or is it just a smaller building? Mobile?
Mobile home.
Yeah. So the intent is for this applicant to put in a single wide mobile home within village boundaries. Is that correct?
I would actually like to point out that the property owner is on the line.
Okay.
So if you wish to ask them specific questions,
Oh, perfect.
this is unorthodox, but if you wish to ask them specific questions to gain clarity about what their intentions are, that'd be great.
So if I can go ahead and ask the property owner then, is the intention to put a single wide mobile on the property?
Yes, that is the intention. And the reasoning for that is due to the dramatically reduced building space due to the riparian restrictions. Are you guys hearing me?
Yeah, we could hear you.
Okay.
So the second question I have for you is for council consideration then, do you have an appetite to do something different than a mobile structure, perhaps a smaller build, Or are you definitely fixed on a mobile?
Well, for me, the sort of turnkey aspect of the single wide that I've presented is favorable just because of ease of build and also timeline. It's something that I could probably get done quicker. But I mean, you know, if I have no other choice but to explore other options, then obviously I'll have to.
Any additional questions for the homeowner? No? So if necessary, you would look at another means opposed to a mobile home, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. No additional questions? Okay, moving on. Thank you for joining us. Oh, Councillor Johnson,
Thank you.
or me, yeah. Okay, so on prior to council's consideration. All in favor? Councillor Paulson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have some questions, but it's not related to the owner. It's related to the drainage program and the location of the channelized creek and the way it comes down the mountain and what if there is a problem with that creek breaking out of its channelized during stream during flooding? It would be right in the path of where the mobile home is placed on this drawing. So I just have some concerns about that. And the attachment B page is blank. So there is no QEP report. So don't know what the regulations or stipulations are in there for that to be met before any building permit would be allowed.
CAO?
Great point and question, all of you in council. The QEP report has been done. When the application for a building permit was submitted, we requested the property owner complete the QEP report, which is what brought to our attention the issue of the riparian zone. And I think everyone knew that that was a riparian area, but the size of the usable area of the lot was what we were able to ascertain following that report. And that report also would be brought forward to council at the next meeting or the next stage of the process if council was to move forward with this process for a DVP. And council would look at what restrictions may or may not be applicable for the property owner to rehabilitate the site in order to move forward with a DVP.
Councillor Johnson?
Sorry, it's also my understanding that some work was done over the riparian zone, and there was an ask for that to be corrected. It's in here. Yeah, it's in the report. So no work, to my understanding, has been done to correct that. Is that my understanding? Or is that a correct statement? Yeah.
Yeah, I can speak to that. This is the owner. Right now, yes, I'm the parameters for reclamation have been provided to me, and I'm working with Monica at Mainstream Biological to decide when to undertake that reclamation process, keeping in mind that there will be further disturbance of that area in order to do the build. So it might be more sensible to undertake that work once the building, or at least the foundation and a lot of the heavy lifting, is done around the area, in order to prevent doing the reclamation and then having it disturbed by the building process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so council, you have a choice between one or two. Correct? Staff recommendations is one. The council receives a report for permits. Staff to provide public notification to the proposed application prior to council consideration. Or number two, that council receives this report and deny the proposed variance for 400 McMillan Drive.
Staff is proposing number one, but those are your two options.
Okay, so on number one, we had a first and a second. So all in favor of number one?
CEO, staff is recommending that that we proceed with the public consultation on this. What is the rationale behind that?
More housing, more revenue for the village, development in the community. It's a form of housing that would meet the building code. Now, is it going to meet the form and style, or the typical standard of the neighborhood? Probably not, but that's a council decision. Now, if council's goal is to add more housing stock to the community, this moving forward with the DVP process would allow council to hear or issue a notice to the public, issue notice to people in the immediate area, have a public hearing, which would also include the property owner, and council can make a decision from there whether it will grant the DVP or not. Or you can outright deny the request to move forward with a DVP, which may have the effect of creating an unusable lot.
Go ahead.
Can I propose then that I'm taking a look at your proposed notice. I'm in favor of addressing section 601(6) with the buildings. I'm not in favor of supporting 601(7), looking at mobile homes. I don't know that mobile homes are a solution for our community. Moreover, a build similar to what has been built in the community with smaller units. I think that is something that we should address. I agree, housing is certainly an issue. I would be in favor of a variance on 601(6), but not 601(7).
Okay. Councillor Paulson.
I agree with what Councillor Johnson says. I'd also like to ask about the consideration for a mobile home in that area, and when we're looking in the future at more lots being developed up above McMillan on the top side, is that going to open this up to having more and more mobile homes situated up there? And again, how is that going to look for the aesthetics of the community if there's mobile homes intermingled with new builds? And so that's my concern.
Okay, Councillor Johnson.
I guess one more question I would have of the property owner is the consideration here new construction mobile or something that is not new construction?
The consideration here is new construction. And just to, I mean, I'm sure you're aware and you've seen some of the new construction single wide mobiles around. The quality and standard and aesthetics of these structures these days are, you know, significantly greater than in the past. And in many cases, once all the skirting is put on these structures, and the outside fixtures are added, and you know, the nice looking blocks, etc. These houses are almost indistinguishable from traditional builds, if you ask me. So I just want to offer that up with respect to your concerns over the aesthetics of the community. These new single wides are of utmost quality, and if you ask me, you can't distinguish them in many cases from a traditional build.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. Let's vote. Call the question. Pardon me?
So I've got one more point here. So I would agree with the property owner is that if we're talking new construction, it's come a long way, and there are companies like that are producing to the same standards as permanent construction. So I'd be curious to look at, you know, what's proposed on site.
Sure. Not to interrupt, but I do have Chris Anderson. He's on the call as well from Iconic Island Designs. And I'm not sure maybe if he wants to chime in to give you a little bit more information at this point. But if you do have to move on and want it in more of a technical document, then that's fine too.
Yeah,
But,
we're sorry to interject. We're running out of time here.
okay.
Then based on receiving technical.
The decision on the granting of a DVP is not tonight. Tonight is to give notice or not, to have a hearing, to discuss the nuances, what you're going to consider, what you're not going to consider.
Okay.
The reason we need a decision tonight is because I have to give notice that meets legislative timelines, and council is moving into a period of having one meeting per month. We already have another notice lined up to go out, and we want to basically address both at the same time.
Gotcha.
Okay, so call the question. Do anybody need me to repeat it? No? Yes? The council receives this report and permits staff to provide public notification of the proposed application prior to council's consideration.
I'll move that.
We already had a first and second.
Oh, okay.
We had discussion. Let's go into vote. All in favor? Opposed? One opposed. The motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you for being online.
Thank you.
Okay, public question period. For the purpose of the public question period is to enable citizens to ask the question of council about issues that are important to the citizen asking the question. Speakers are asked to limit their questions to one each, and if time permits, everyone will have an opportunity to ask a second question. Citizens will be asked to state their name and address.
Yeah, Art Bobrick, 77 Kelsey Lane. Just a question. You're going to save money by shutting down the Kelsey Center, but doesn't it, the heating system that heats the rest of the building, it is pretty expensive to run. So would you shut the whole building down? Because what in the budget, it showed $60,000 worth of propane a year to keep this place heated. But is the heating system integral to the whole building to heat the village office and this area down here? So,
Yeah, that's a question I don't have the answer for,
no, I mean, but
it's a
if
good
you-
question.
It's something to think about.
Agreed.
Because it's such a huge cost. You know, 60,000 for propane's a lot of money.
I agree.
And then you have 3 boilers here or 2 to heat the whole place?
2
Yeah. It's
2
just,
brand new boilers.
yeah, well, and then if we shut it down, what goes 2 brand new boilers? Or one sitting doing nothing. I don't know how the system works, but it's just a thought.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, in camera. In accordance with section 92 of the community charter, this council meeting will go to close to the public at this time in order to allow council to considerations of matter in accordance with the following sections of the community charter: 90-1C, 90-1D, 90-1I, 90-1J. Do I have a motion, please?
With that,
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. We'll be back at 8:12.